and make sure that you guys don't get some bad shit. So, please pay attention, it's a really good class. Some of us have sat through it already, so it's, did you announce Tim yet?
I did not. You can go ahead if you like. Or...
Tim Condon, right? But
Yep.
Sentry, who else were you with, Tim?
Oh, the paid on call side from over in Hudson, that's where I live, and I've been in the department there for quite a while, and I work for South Metro Fire over Western Hills. Just like do a lot of teaching in Century. I kind of manage our CEU program and whatnot. Work with these guys over at Hennepin, and I do a bunch over on our side of the river too. WIPC, Chippewa County, all over. So, a lot of stuff. A lot of fun.
Good. So we'll take a break. I think Jimmy and Skinner are cooking tonight. I don't know what are we cooking? Tacos? So we may eat, if that's all right. Depending on the timing, probably after that last break, we'll have you guys get plates so that you come back and we'll eat. So I'm good.
How's your elbows?
Pretty good.
What's your fingers?
Yep. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yep, I appreciate that.
Sounds good. Well, we might as well get rolling. Introduction is done, and like I said, this is one of those I'm very into and passionate about this class. The first time I sat through it, I was like, oh my god, very much. I said, this is some stuff that is really going to make an impact on your life and whole family. We'll talk about some of that stuff as well. Basically, what we're talking about tonight is, as the title says up there, taking action against cancer in the fire service. Now, this is something you've probably heard, some bits and pieces, a few things here and there. Just in the last year or so, we're really starting to talk about this. And something we never really thought about or talked about that much before. But we're really starting to see a lot about some of the stuff that's going on just because of what we do, our jobs. Whether it's your career, volunteer, I don't care. We're all getting exposed to the same stuff. We're all doing the same kind of work. So this is really, really important. As you can see, a lot of our core materials in here come from the Firefighter Cancer Support Network, which is a nationwide nonprofit. We have a Minnesota chapter here, which Steve Shapira was formerly with St. Paul Fire, he's the captain there. He put a lot of these materials together, he and Mark Dickinson, also from St. Paul. A couple guys that have a lot of credibility in this because they're actually going through this, cancer survivors. So it puts a total different spin on it when you sit and have some of these conversations with someone who's like, all this stuff we're talking about? He's like, yeah, that's me. And we'll move on through that. But as you see all the little logos down at the bottom of the slide here, a lot of help, support, and whatnot from IFF, International Fire Chiefs, NIOSH, IFSTA, National Fallen Firefighter Foundation, Scott, Firehouse, Fire Engineering. A lot of people put a lot of effort into this program. So the class tonight is going to be divided up into basically 3 chunks. Our first chunk, we're going to talk about just some basic generic, what is cancer? We've all heard about it. We all know that, we probably all know someone who's either had or has cancer, or actually, show of hands. Has anyone had some sort of cancer themselves? Awesome. Anyone within your immediate or close family? Wow. 3/4 of the hands in the room went up right there. Anyone within that that circle of friends had anyone close to you die? Just almost as many. So this is certainly something that, it touches all of us in some way, shape, or form. So we're going to talk about some of the basic generic, a little bit about the basic biology of cancer. It's not just something we've heard of, but what is it? What's it doing to your body? Where does it come from? What's going on? Start touching a little bit about how it affects us, in particular in the fire service. That's really going to be the main topic of the second section after we take our first break. Stuff that's particularly important for us in the fire service. And then our third section is going to be largely on stuff that we can do literally the minute we walk out those doors to change our lifestyles, to reduce our likelihood of seeing some of the stuff that we're actually going to see. Started over. This is just a clip from a mini-series that Ken Burns, if you're familiar with some of the stuff that he's done for PBS.
Going to pray, boy, that we will find a cure for cancer. And I want it done in my time. The time has come in America And the same kind of concentrated effort that split the atom and took man to the moon should be turned toward conquering this dread disease.
In fact, it is now conceivable that our children's children will know the term cancer only as a constellation of stars.
For the first time in human history, we can say with some measure of confidence that the war on cancer is winnable.
It will launch a new effort to conquer a disease that has touched the life of nearly every American, including me, by seeking a cure for cancer in our time.
Cancer is a worldwide scourge, the fastest growing disease on Earth. By 2030, there will be as many as 22 million cases worldwide. Cancer afflicts 1.7 million Americans each year and kills 600,000 of them. More will die from cancer over the next 2 years than died in combat in all the wars the United States has ever fought, combined. 1 in 2 American men and 1 in 3 American women will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetimes, and nearly everyone will be close to someone who suffers from it.
Make no mistake, this is one of the most significant human challenges in our history. To imagine that we will find a simple solution to this, I think doesn't do service to the true complexity of the problem. Cancer is part of our genetic inheritance. We will always have cancer amidst us, within us, amongst us.
Cancer is not one disease, it's many. But each of them begins in the same way, with the uncontrolled growth of a single cell. It attacks the blood, the breasts, the lungs, and every other part of the body. No one is immune to cancer, neither young nor old, rich nor poor, frail nor strong.
Cancer wants to live at the expense of your entire body and your entire being. It doesn't care about you. It doesn't care if you're a mother or a husband or a daughter or, if you have 4 children. It doesn't care. It just cares about itself.
This is a struggle of life and death, and we cannot win if we're afraid.
But human beings have refused to surrender, have always struggled to understand it. Was it God's curse? Could you cut it out? Could you burn it? Could you poison it? Was it a virus? Did it come from the outside? Or did the enemy lie within us? In the ongoing struggle to conquer cancer, massive force has sometimes meant defeat.
So this will be your last cycle.
Tragic failure has led to remarkable success. And final victory always seems just out of reach. The struggle has reflected every human strength and frailty, resilience and terror, candor and denial, arrogance and caring, blind allegiance and leaps of faith, hubris and hype and genuine hope. Cancer has been called many things: the king of terrors, a hidden assassin, and the emperor of all maladies.
Cancer has taken on this larger-than-life role in our culture, in our lives. It is the word that we relate to with simultaneous terror and some humility. It makes us resistance workers. It makes us historians of that empire. It makes us people who grieve about what happens when this invades our lives. It makes us soldiers. But every year has brought a kind of clarity to our understanding of what goes wrong in a cancer cell and what can be targeted, can be prevented, can be treated.
Every field in medicine has had a moment in history that has been transforming. The moment where the knowledge that was required to change the field became available. And my prediction is that the next 20 years is going to be the age of discovery for cancer and the age for new therapies. This is our time.
So that was from the Ken Burns special. Very, very, I mean, if you kind of get interested in something, definitely I strongly recommend playing on Cancer, the Emperor of All Melodies. It's just amazing to talk about. It's something that at some point in time is going to affect all of us. Because we're starting to figure out with the fire service, it affects us a lot more than an awful lot of other people. So that's kind of what we're going to be looking at, how we can change that pattern and reduce it. So, like I said, our first section here, we're going to be talking about just some of the basic, generic, if you will, things about cancer. What is it? What makes it work? How's it happen? As they mentioned before in that other video, it's not just a thing. It's not like a heart attack or a stroke or something like that. It's, there's over 200 diseases, whether it's, what it's in the blood or attacks red blood cells, white blood cells, the pancreas, brain, bone, breast, whatever. Every different tissue that it starts from, every different, just as far as that goes, with every different person that it happens in, it's a different disease. So it makes it kind of unique no matter what. This is just a jumping right into another video clip.
Hi, it's Mr. Anderson. Over 1 million people every year develop cancer. There are over 100 different types of cancer, but many people don't really know what is cancer. And the answer to that question is very simple. If we look at a normal cell, on the inside of the cell is the nuclei, and that contains DNA. And the DNA contains genes that control the actions of the cell. And one of those important actions is how a cell makes a copy of itself, how it goes through what we call the cell cycle. And so if you take a normal cell and put it in culture, it will simply make a copy of itself. And if there's room, those cells will make copies of themselves, and they'll keep doing that until they fill up that area. And if one of these cells dies, then an adjacent cell is going to jump into that cell cycle, and it's going to fill that hole. And so that's how you went from a zygote to the trillions of cells that are inside your body. And that's also how you replace cells. And so your skin is constantly losing cells off the surface, but we're creating cells underneath that. And so the cause of all cancers is the same. There's going to be damage to the DNA. And so that DNA is made up of what are called nucleotides. And there are tons of genes in there that are controlling this cell cycle, when a cell should make a copy of itself and when it should stop dividing. And so a mutation is simply damage to that DNA. Now it could just occur spontaneously. If we all live long enough, we're all going to develop cancer because these mutations are going to start to accrue during our lifetime. But we can also increase the rate of those mutations using the environment. And so, for example, if we smoke cigarettes, that could cause mutations to the DNA. Increases in UV radiation, we're finding that decreases in exercise, increases in certain types of diet can cause mutations, and that can cause problems in the cell cycle. And so let's say we get a mutation in this cell right here. There are going to be genes within that cell that sense something is wrong, and lots of times it'll undergo apoptosis where that cell dies and another cell moves inside. But during our lifetime, we start to accrue more and more mutations, and eventually enough mutations build up in one of those cells, and it becomes not a normal cell, but a cancerous cell. And this takes a long time for that to occur. And so this is a pretty awful graph. This is the increase in the popularity of cigarettes. And so this is the number of cigarette smoking per person per year. And so as they were doing that, they were increasing the mutations inside their body. And we can look decades later, we see the causation. We can see an increase in lung cancer in men as well. And so as we make those mistakes in our cell, we form these cancerous cells. Now, what does a cancerous cell do? It doesn't matter that their cells are rapid. It's simply going to divide and divide and divide over and over and over again. And eventually what you create is a tumor. Now, there are two types of tumor. If those cells are restricted to that one area and stay within a membrane, we call those benign tumors, and that's not cancer. But if there is no restriction to that area, it becomes what's called a malignant tumor, and that's really a definition of what cancer is. It's when we have these uncontrolled cell growth, and those cells that show uncontrolled cell growth spreading throughout our body. And so this is a video of some cancerous cells. And so instead of just growing and doing the jobs of the cell, you can see they're kind of misshapen, and all they do is make copies of themselves and copies of themselves over and over and over again. That's where all the energy is going. Now, if that was restricted to one area, it wouldn't be as big a deal, but they can move to different areas of the body. And so if we have a tumor right here, it can start to invade the tissues around it, and so that tumor can not only get larger, but can move into new areas. And if that tumor gets into the lymphatic system or the circulatory system, it can move around our body and it can settle somewhere else. And so that's the problem with a malignant tumor. And so we name cancers based on the tissues and the organs that they infect. So this would be lung cancer, but we could also have colon cancer, or maybe pancreatic cancer or breast cancer. It's basically named on the tissue of where it is. Now, each of those cancers, even though the cause is the same, damage to the DNA, which produces uncontrolled cell growth, the way they manifest the disease is going to be totally different. And so if you look at this x-ray, we can see this is somebody who has lung cancer, and there's going to be a tumor right there. And what we're finding is not only are all these different types of cancer different, but each of those individual tumors are different. And between two people, those tumors are going to be different. And even within the cells of the tumor, they're going to be different. So what does that mean? Well, even though we might treat one tumor, we're going to find that within that tumor, there are going to be different cells. Each of those have different genetic problems. And so we could treat most of the tumor, remove most of it, but it's going to come back eventually over time. And so what do we have for treatments? And so since cancer is uncontrolled cell growth, we want to find those cells as quickly as we can. And so screening is the most important thing. Once we find that cancer has developed and we find that tumor, the first thing that we want to do is we want to remove that. And so surgery is generally what happens next. We remove that tumor. We also use radiation. In other words, we're not going to be able to remove all of those cells. There are going to be extraneous cells around it. And so we can target this with ionizing radiation, and we can kill all those cells. Now, this has dangers as well, and so we try to restrict that to that one area, but it can cause damage to the cells around it. And then oftentimes we'll use chemotherapy. Now, what's chemotherapy doing? It's going throughout your whole body, and it's targeting cells that are actively dividing, cells that are going through this cell cycle. And so that's why it affects, for example, you get a lot of nausea because it's affecting those cells in your digestive tract, or you lose your hair because it's affecting those cells that are constantly making new hair. And so with all of these, we're getting better and better at treating cancer. What's the future hold? Well, we're really just treating all cancers with these three methods the same. And so what we'll see is if we can get into the genetics and we start to understand how each of those cancers are different, then we can start to target them. And so one of the breakthroughs was Gleevec, which is one of these first drugs that's targeting a specific type of leukemia. And it was affecting a specific machinery within that cell. And so again, the more we understand about cancer, we find that they're all the same, but the causes are going to be different. And so what is cancer? It's simply uncontrolled cell growth, and I hope that was helpful.
Well, basically a 3-credit class I took at the U. It was pretty much condensed in about 5 minutes. But I mean, realistically, that's a very quick and dirty what it's all about. You know, it's one of the big reasons why it's such a challenge. Why we've had every president since LBJ saying, hey, we're going to get this thing now. We got this thing figured out. We're throwing billions and billions of dollars into trying to figure out what's going on and how we can stop it. We're still having the same issues. Is because basically, like I said, it's us. It's not like something that's coming in like a germ or a bacteria or a virus or something like that. It's our own cells. And it's because of these mutations in the DNA and the cells and all that stuff that make any of those cells that are growing and reproducing, which is most of the cells in your body, for whatever reason, you get some sort of mutation in one of those, and that area, that tissue takes off. Well, it's kind of hard to just come up with something that's going to blast one of those cells. That's why we see all these complications like with chemotherapy, because it's basically a toxin or a poison that's trying to stop those reproducing cells. Well, guess what? It's also stopping some of those other cells that are reproducing, so like in your digestive tract, in your hair. That's not what happened to me. But all this other kind of stuff that's going on, it's really a bit of a challenge that we're still really spending a lot of time working on. As they've mentioned, one of the most important things, and we're going to keep coming back to this basic topic right here too, early detection is the key. If something does happen, catching it before it starts spreading, before it gets worse. That's realistically a very strong key to maybe hopefully being able to beat it in your own. We've got 7 warning signs they put together in our that say caution, kind of help you remember some of those 7 warning signs. Now every one of these warning signs that we're talking about can be explained by something else. But there's certainly things that make you think, you know what, maybe I should get checked out. Significant, and I'm saying particularly over time, see changes in bowel habit or movements. A lot of digestive changes. If it's not something that, you know, we all have one of those, you get a bug and for a couple days you're kind of off kilter or whatever, but it gets better. Well, if it doesn't change, it doesn't get better, that's when you use red flag, you should get something checked out. Maybe a little bit of a stretch, but a sore that doesn't heal. Unusual bleeding or discharge. Teeth thickening, breast tissue, or any kind of lump anywhere. Indigestion, difficulty swallowing. Obvious changes to mold or warts. We'll talk about that a little bit more as well. And nagging cough 4 weeks or longer. Now, any of these things, I had the end over the winter. I had a nagging cough, and I had bronchitis for about 6 weeks this winter. Does that mean I have cancer? Not necessarily. But when you start putting a couple of these other things together, you start thinking, oh, you know what, we better get a little closer look at what's going on here. So we'll keep coming back to some of these things. One of the most important things, and they kind of touched on it in the last video, there are some very simple lifestyle changes that can make a big difference in our risk of cancer. We're going to touch on a few of those as well. Particularly making some healthier choices. We'll talk about each of these lifestyle changes in general. This isn't just firefighter stuff. This is everything. This is everyone in the population. We can tell the same things to our family members and whatnot. Number one, don't use tobacco. This isn't the anti-tobacco class or anything, but realistically, smoking is the #1 behavior change that you can make that's going to reduce your likelihood of many different types of cancer. We always think about smoking as a lung cancer kind of thing, but it actually has been linked to a lot of others. I'm actually going to read the list because I'm not smart enough to remember all those. Lung, mouth, throat, larynx, pancreas, bladder, cervix, kidney. We don't really think of pancreatic cancer as something for smoking. They've found a pretty strong link. Smokers are at a very high risk of pancreatic cancer among these others. Chewing tobacco is not really a safer alternative. A couple people grumbling. Certainly, as we probably know, linked to cancers in oral cancer, mouth cancer, throat cancer, pancreatics, if you didn't think of it. Even if you're not using it, if you're getting exposed, you know, we all have heard that secondhand smoke maybe isn't that good for us either. Like I say, bold red letters. Avoiding tobacco is one of the most important health decisions you can make. Lots and lots of scientific evidence pointing us in that direction. And as those of us who have been through that know, it's not just something that we always like, oh, okay, I'm going to quit today because this doesn't sound good. It can be hard. There's a lot of people who have a really hard time. This is just one example. Smokefree.gov is a website put together by from the federal government. A lot of great help there. Even your insurance company, no matter how crappy your health insurance is, the high deductible and all that stuff, an awful lot of them are pretty generous about if you come into them and say, hey, you know what, I need some help with smoking cessation. Because you know what? They know that they're going to save an awful lot of money if they help you kick the habit. So there are definitely a lot of ways, a lot of help out there. Employee assistance programs, you can go through work with the department. A lot of places you can get some help, but man, it's going to make a big difference for you. Our #2 lifestyle change here, eat a healthy diet. You've probably heard that. I spent a third of my life in the fire station too, so I know exactly what eating a lot of crap is all about. But you know, eating lots of fruits and vegetables, man, it can help a lot too. A lot of evidence linking our diet to eating a healthy diet. A lot of information out there about the heart healthy diets, cancer healthy diets, that kind of thing. Avoiding obesity, eating lighter and leaner. I think they have a cross-section of me over there, but something we can all probably work on a little bit. But especially this belly fat right along here is one of the hardest ones to get rid of once we have it developing. And I'll tell you what, it's actually more than just having a little extra tummy. There's a lot of stuff that kind of goes on in there that also predisposes us to certain types of cancers and stuff like that. So pretty important to try to keep that stuff down. Along with the diet, alcohol use. Not saying, I'll be the first to admit I'll have a few or whatever, but if you choose to drink alcohol, do so only in moderation. Again, lots of different risks that we don't really think of. We all know that, oh yeah, drunks are going to wreck their liver or something like that. But cancer is breast cancer. Who would have thought that breast cancer would be linked to excessive alcohol use? Well, there's a lot of scientific evidence that there is. Colon cancer, lung cancer, kidney, liver, always increasing the amount of alcohol you drink and how long and how much you do it. We generally say kind of the 3 to 5 drinks a day is kind of that. If you exceed that, that's definitely pushing an extreme high risk group. Strong association with alcohol, oral cancer, asparagus, throat cancer, esophageal, liver, breast, liver. We need to be kind of watching these. Another one that's pretty important for us, maintaining a healthy weight, physically active. Now, we all kind of know that especially for cardio, right? We all talk about our heart risks and stuff like that. We need to exercise, keep our heart in shape, lungs and all that kind of stuff. Lifting to keep our muscles in shape and all that stuff. Not only does maintaining healthy weight, healthy body composition help with all that stuff, they found that it actually can help reduce a lot of the risk of certain types of cancers as well. Not only just by being a little bit healthier, but the actual physical activity itself, we're finding can reduce our health, our risk of a number of different types of cancers, particularly like breast and colon cancer. Kind of the guideline we're throwing out here, 150 minutes a week of moderate aerobic activity, 75 minutes of vigorous aerobic. Anywhere in between, if you're doing a mix of the two, that's okay. Any of this, everything's going to help. And it's not just helping that fitness, but it's actually helping to reduce some of the likelihood of some of these genetic mutations and stuff like that. Kind of amazing stuff that is pretty important. Our next one here, protecting yourself from the sun. This is probably, out of all of these, this is the one that I'm the worst at, I'll be the first to admit. Skin cancer is one of the most common kinds of cancer and one of the most preventable. It's easy to prevent yourself from getting lots of different types of skin cancers. There's a lot of different types of skin cancers in general, but sure, I mean, this is the stuff that 3 days a summer that we actually get of this in Minnesota. We really want to try to get out there and take advantage of it. But avoiding that midday sun, when it's the highest, it's the hottest. There's the most UV light coming down on us. That's when it's causing the most problems between 10 and 4. Stay in the shade when you can. Put the top up in the boat. Probably not my fashion choice of hat, but certainly keeping that stuff off your, especially thin skin on your neck, things like that, really important to reduce our risk of skin cancers. Avoiding tanning beds and sun lamps. They are no healthier than being out in natural sunlight. Might be kind of pushed and sold that way sometimes. Just as bad for us. They talk about the, if you're kind of taking a look, especially any moles that you might have, moles that change are usually kind of bad. Moles that grow in size, shape, color. Then they've got the A, B, C, and D skin exam here. Asymmetry. If there's a mole or a spot that isn't just a round mole that we typically picture, that's maybe one that we should get looked at. B, border. Irregular, scallops or poorly defined border, kind of a weird shape. Definitely something we want to look at. Color, particularly if the color changes within a spot, there's dark spots and light spots, or if that color changes over time. We had a light mole, all of a sudden it started turning dark. Oh yeah, that's one we definitely want to get a little more attention to. Diameter, if the spot grows, definitely one we want to get checked out, take a look at. And evolving, anything that changes, any of those attributes that change, the shape changes, the color changes, the size changes, and that's one of those red flags we need to get this sucker looked at. And they're probably gonna check out to a biopsy, whatever they have to do, but if we can find that early, it's gonna make a big difference. A couple numbers that I found very interesting and sobering. When that skin cancer is localized, when they find it in basically one spot or one area on your arm, on your neck, anything like that, 98% survival rate, 5 years or longer. It's pretty good if we catch it early. Very, very good. Once it's spread to other areas, if it was on the back of my hand and its next spot showed up in my shoulder, 65% survival rate within 5 years. It's still not too bad. Once it's spread to distant areas, I had this spot on my wrist that I ignored. All of a sudden I've got one showing up on my leg 5 years later, or whenever. 16% survival rate when it's spread to distant areas in your body. Really, really important that we catch this stuff before it starts moving, before it starts spreading. And then another one, you're getting regular medical care. we tend to put that off as much as anything else. Regular self-exams, screening for various types, colon, cervix, breast cancer, the stuff that our doctors are recommending, hey, you should come in. Yeah, let's do that. It's pretty important for us. It can help our chances of discovering cancer early. Part of why we say it's really good to be regular and have a primary care physician, one that you meet with, most of the time. Because if they kind of get to know you and say, okay, can you take a look at this spot? We look at it this year, it looks okay. We look at the same spot next year, the same doctor looks at the same spot. Oh yeah, if you start developing that relationship, they can figure out what your normal is. Because everyone's normal, whether it's the spots in your skin or digestive habits or any of that stuff. Everyone's got a different normal level. But if we're getting those routine checkups, and it's definitely really important for us to catch this stuff early. I don't care whether it's skin cancer or lung cancer, breast cancer, any of that kind of stuff. Really important that we're catching it in those early stages before it starts spreading around. Again, going back to your health plans. Most health plans are pretty good, relatively generous about preventive screening. Even if you've got the high deductible like we have through my employer, annual preventive screening, no deductible. They know that they're going to save a hell of a lot of money if they keep you healthy compared to if they end up paying for a cancer claim or something like that. Establishing that relationship with the doctor. And something that we found is really important here in particular, knowledge you bring to the appointment is more important than the doctor's knowledge. Now we kind of walk in and we've got this, well, they're the doctor, they've got the 37 years of college and all that stuff, but they know a lot more than we do. Most of our doctors out there, unless they've gone through something like this, they have no clue what kind of stuff we're exposed to in the fire service. I've got a checklist here that I will let you guys put a couple copies up before you leave, but you can take this to your doctor. A lot of people have found that when we go to our doctors, like, hey, here's some pretty good documented evidence of stuff that because of what I do, I'm exposed to a lot of this stuff. So let's make our routine checks a little better. We've actually had pretty good results going back to the insurance companies and saying, hey, you know what, I'm in a high risk group because of this. This is, some of these tests maybe aren't normally covered under their preventive screening kind of things, but we give them some of this evidence and some of the stuff in the sheet that I'll give out. And they're like, okay. They'll actually, quite often, a lot of the insurance companies will, because they know that you're in a high risk group, are going to modify what they consider preventive screening for us. So we get a little bit of help there. So it's not necessarily something that we're footing the bill for all the time. Educate your physician about this. Steve Shire that I mentioned was one of the guys who put this class together. When he was first diagnosed, and I'll go through the story in a little bit when we talk about this case in particular, because I know about his doctor had no clue about this stuff. And so once they kind of figured out what was going on, he started doing some of his own research and found some of these things and went to the oncologist and just like, oh my God, I had no idea. One of the most widely known oncologists at the U of M, she had no idea the stuff that we were exposed to. She was like, well, yeah, if you're exposed to that all the time, you're going to get this. It's like, I'm on board. A lot of especially our GPs and our regular doctors, they don't know the stuff that we're doing. They have no clue. So you don't necessarily know that. But if we develop that relationship, we can help educate them